Imagine being home alone, all by yourself, and all of a sudden these doors start opening and closing, and there's no one else there but you. So you become very concerned, and what do? Do you call Ghostbusters? No, 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 my friends. You call Christina and Chris with Neptune Mold Solutions. Hey guys, thank you for joining us on this great, scary topic. I know that if I was home alone and doors started opening and closing on me, I don't know what I would do. I would seriously run screaming out of my house like a crazy lunatic. So I'm so glad that y'all are here today to tell us about this opening and closing phenomena because it's very scary when you think about it. So tell us about what causes a normal house that does not have paranormal activities to start experiencing opening and closing of doors.
Hey, Lesbeth, that's a good question. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
So
Did you enjoy my over theatrical presentation?
I loved it. I loved it. It's awesome.
You did? Okay.
It was a little
You were
spooky.
scared. Good.
So yeah, so with negative pressure like that in homes, anytime that you have air that's removed, whether it's through negative pressure from your HVAC return or even ventilation fans, things of that nature, will draw that air out of the home, and it brings in that air has to come back from somewhere. So you bring in makeup air and those kind of things. So when you have, especially in homes that don't have returns in each room, there's a return in a hallway. And when you close bedroom doors, that creates negative pressure inside the home and positive pressure inside the rooms.
So you used a term earlier that I haven't heard before. You said something about makeup air. Is that what you said?
Right, right. In the restoration industry, that's what we call when we do mold remediation. We put the area that's being worked on under negative pressure. So we'll put an air scrubber that evacuates the air out of that chamber. Well, we can't create a perfect vacuum, so makeup air comes in from cracks and crevices and those types of things. And in chambers like that, we have to create a space for makeup air. But in a home, if it's under negative pressure, you'll have air that comes in through wall sockets, around doors that haven't been properly weather stripping on it. So you're from outside. So I've had customers, their house was really dusty, and it was because they had all their doors shut and it was negative air in the house.
Okay. Okay. And how does that contribute to when you have a house that has a lot of this negative air? How does that contribute to the growth of mold?
Well, what happens in our lovely Houston weather, with 75, 80% humidity in the air, that makeup air has a lot of humidity in it, relative humidity. So when you have a lot of air being pulled in from outside, you have molds and things that are just natural that are outside, plus all the hot, humid air that you're bringing in. And if you do that and increase the relative humidity inside the house, then once it's over 60% persistently, then you'll start having mold growth in the tops of closets and on clothing and those types of things.
Your books,
Okay.
papers.
Paper. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So here's a question for you. I have been experiencing a lot of issues with, not a lot, it's not a daily thing, but on occasion I have problems with dry eyes. And then I have these plants that I'm growing, and they love humidity because of the
Mhm.
types of plants that they are. So I have a humidifier that I run. Do you and sometimes I do think about this. What if this humidifier that I'm running is creating a mold problem and I don't even know it? What do you suggest to people that have humidifiers in a room or throughout their house? What does that look like in terms of causing a mold overgrowth, especially if your house has this negative pressure issue?
That's a good question, and I think that humidifiers are good. Oftentimes, we use them with plants and children that have respiratory issues. You'll put a humidifier there. I think if you use them on a one-off situation, oftentimes you'll take your ferns and put them in a shower, turn it to the shower hot and steamy. It's no different than taking a hot shower. I think if you have several, so let's say you have a lot of plants and you're running the humidifiers on a regular basis or continuously, then with our Houston weather, you really need to monitor your indoor relative humidity because it can climb, and once it does, you'll have leather jackets and boots and shoes and closets will start getting mold, and all of that is just from humidity.
Doors will close.
Yeah, right. The negative pressure.
Negative pressure. Do y'all ever get calls about ghosts? Is that a thing?
Ghosts? No.
Not necessarily
No?
ghosts. People will say, you know what, there's something here. I just don't know what it is. It's the mold ghost.
It starts with the letter M, and it smells a little moldy. So, what about? Can you get like do they sell humidity thermometers where you can gauge how much humidity a room or an area of your house has?
Yes, they actually do, and some HVAC systems will have they're called thermal hygrometers, and you can get those on Amazon, and they're pretty cheap, and you can put one in every room of the house. Just because of the industry that we're in, I am very aware of the humidity levels in my home, so I have them in every room. It's
So
that much.
let's talk about this some more. So you have humidity thermometers. Are they thermometers? Is that what they're called?
Well, they're called thermal hygrometers. So it gives the temperature and the relative.
Thermohydrometers, right?
Hygrometer.
Is that what you said?
Hygrometer.
Hygrometer? Thermohygrometer. I am never going to remember this. This is terrible. I'm like putting myself on the spot. Thermohygrometers. Okay. So do you connect these to your smartphone, or you just put them in different places throughout your house and just like do the old-fashioned thing of coming up to the device and reading it?
Right. So they have all different kinds. There's things that at one point I had the ones where you just could go and look. Then I'd have the one has a station and it kind of registers what all the different ones are. There are where you can have an app on your phone that you could see.
That way when you're not at home, you can check, because a lot of people go on vacation and then they come back and they have problems.
Well, when we first moved into the house, it's a funny story about humidity. When we first moved into our home, the first month or so, I was telling Christina, our indoor relative humidity was too high. It was around 60%, 61, 62%. And I thought that's not good, right? And so I had an HVAC guy come out and take a look at my system, and I had a makeup air duct that was pulling makeup air in from outside, which is not required in residences, but it is in like commercial buildings. But so we shut that off and my humidity dropped 8-9 points. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so do you, in your professional opinion, and you might not want to answer this, and if you don't, it's totally fine with me. I don't want to put you in the spot. It's not my job, but I'll ask you anyway. In your professional opinion, are the home builders of today doing a really great job of building homes that are humidity friendly?
In my experience, just with Neptune, with the calls that we get, we have, and I have the mold contractor license. I ran crews to do mold cleanups for years before I was an inspector. And from my experience, there's a lot of humidity and building science issues and some new construction homes. And there's some builders that are doing it really good, and there's some builders that are not doing it really well. So.
Okay. So for people that are building a brand new home, at what stage should they give you guys a call to come in and test the humidity levels in different places of their home? I mean, obviously, once the sheetrock goes up, right? Or do you test humidity prior to? I mean, if the house is open, then that's kind of a mute point if the enclosures haven't gone up yet, right?
That's true.
True.
Typically, we would go and to do testing. We would do after the house has been dried in, after the drywall's in, the HVAC's running, that kind of thing. But we've had customers that have called us out to new construction homes where it's being framed. And, in Southeast Texas, right, these houses are framed. We get a thunderstorm for a day or two, and then they just let it dry for a few days and then come in and dry it in. And when the builders do that, oftentimes they just ignore mold growth on the framing and just frame all that stuff in. Some of the restoration companies, if it was pretty bad, come out and have them treat it and make sure all that stuff was dead and it was cleaned off the framing. But that's an expense, and a lot of builders don't want to make that expense. So I had a customer to call me, and they had taken some pieces of out of the trash pile to put some of the horizontal bars, like for the thermostat, and they had me come test it. And before the drywall was put up, and it had stachybotrys, it had black mold on it because it was a piece of wood that had been sitting out in a trash pile, wet for weeks. And they just brought that in. And now I'm not saying all builders do that, but we all know that when corners can be cut, that people cut corners. So
Yeah,
they will cut them. Yeah. So let's say someone is building a house, right? And big downpour comes through, all of the everything gets wet, and then it's sealed up, and that interior wood does not get any more water contact. What happens to that? Will that mold eventually die, or will it keep growing because it doesn't have a water source?
And what you said there was key, the water source. So what I often tell customers is that mold is more like fire than it is cancer. And though how I explain that is, if you have a little bit of mold under your sink or on a framing, in your example, on some framing, on some drywall, on some of the house, and then you put drywall on it, does that just continue to just spread through the walls? No, it doesn't. Fire, on the other hand, needs temperature, it needs oxygen, right? It needs fuel. Mold is the same way. We have organic material for mold to grow on, and mold is everywhere, right? And the temperatures are ideal for mold. Water is the catalyst. So in those situations, once it's closed up, it goes dormant. It dies, it goes dormant. If it's bad enough, dormant or dead mold spores can still cause allergenic issues and problems. So it's a little different. The stuff has to be removed. Now, if it's just a little bit, that's every house in Houston that's obviously has had a little bit. Some cases are more egregious.
Yeah. And the key factor is in that house. Is it affecting them?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. And is there any question that I could have asked about this negative pressure that I completely missed on, because I didn't even know that this negative pressure concept existed? I just thought I had a friendly ghost in my house.
So one thing that I get a lot is the vent fans in the bathrooms, right? And the exhaust fans for the stove and that kind of thing. Usually there's a microwave, above it, something like that, right? Well, and all of those systems that are meant to evacuate air, that conduit, it's a two-way conduit, right? So it can exhaust whatever comes out, but then outside air can come back in. So they put a damper in there. So it allows for it to open during use, and it's supposed to stop backflow, right? Well, what happens is those dampers often fail. So it'll allow this warm air back into the house. And I'll have a customer that calls and says they've opened up the cabinet above their microwave, and there's visible mold all in there, and it's from that hood. Same situation with vent fans in bathrooms. We get that a lot. We'll have there's mold around it, and what's happening is it's just around the fan. When it's not in use, it's allowing warm air back in. So that hot air at the ceiling with AC, it just creates condensation, and it creates mold growth there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Things to be aware of. Well, my friends, that's all the time we have for today. And Chris and Christina, could you share with us what's the best way to get in touch with you all? I know that y'all have a website. You also you're also on social media. So please share with our friends what's the best way to get in touch with y'all.
The best way is just to go to our website, call the phone number that's on there, and they'll patch you right through.
NeptuneMold.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And for more community stories, you can find us on HoustonCityBeat.com. I'm Lisbeth Newton, and we'll see you in the next story.
Bye. Have a good one.